I'd like to call to order the Wildlife Management Advisory Commission regular meeting for October 19th. It is 6:01. All commissioners are here except for Ken Kniper, who's on excused absence. And we'll go to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so nobody signed up for citizens' comments period, so we'll move on to business items. Looking for approval for the minutes of September 21st, 2020.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I've got a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. Moving on to 5B, wildlife and wildlife incidents within the city of Garden Ridge. Any comments about that? Okay. Paul, you got anything? Okay. I assume the dog is a picture of the registered animals? Is that what that is? Okay. I assume that's not some kind of wild coyote? No, okay. Oh. Okay. So a little PSA announcement included in this.
They're trying to appeal to our hearts by
That's
just
right.
putting some.
No. All right. So no comments, no questions, no concerns. The only thing I'll say is 105 is a lot of carcasses for the year. So I assume that's what that means. I assume that follow-up is what that means.
Did they do any CWD testing on any of those?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Just a lot, not to say that that's, I don't think that that's any different necessarily than our yearly average, but it may be up slightly from where we were last year.
So these don't indicate whether, we haven't had any traffic incidents with these, correct?
It's really hard to, I mean, unless you have the car sitting there and he's standing there, it's really hard to tell whether you.
I mean, we haven't had any reported.
Russell, will you scroll down?
But nobody calls the city and says, hey, I hit a deer. Put that on the tracker, right? So that doesn't.
Yeah, on the police report,
On
it
the
just,
police-
it does say struck by car, fawn, and then another one on the roadway, so.
But out of those 7, I think is what she was getting at was how many of those 7 were
I see. Okay.
a vehicle incident, and it's really hard for us to determine that. I think he tries to do the best job that he can
Right.
identifying. Obviously, you can tell what predation looks like versus typically what a car accident looks like. All right,
Oh my God.
nothing else? Moving on. 5B, nope, yeah, 5B2, yeah, Oak Wilt within City of Garden Ridge.
There we go. I'm learning. In your package, you have a copy of the Oak Wilt Trench. Trenching will actually begin on the 26th of this month. There's no changes to the trench since the last time the commission met. Were there any questions about?
I went to the Parks Committee meeting this last week, and I think what I was talking about was just to make it more of an education or some sort of information for people to know, like, this is what Oak Wilt looks like, this is why we're gonna rope off this area, because we're trenching, and just like, I've lived here, but I've never actually seen what has to happen if there's oak wilt, or if they can even see what it looks like. So I think that they were gonna talk to someone, but that was as far as we got.
I know, I understand the Parks Committee was going to order some signs to put around that area in the park.
Yeah.
When they're finished trenching, the trench will be 48 inches deep. 48 inches deep, yes, ma'am.
And y'all have, do you or do you not, I may be spreading false information, but don't you have leaves up here that people can look at?
Oh,
They can
yes.
Look, okay.
We do have leaves up here, and our Public Works Director works very closely with the Texas A&M Forestry Service biologist for this area. And at any time that anybody suspects that a tree may have oak wilt or is in question about it, please feel free to contact our Public Works Director, and he will take a look at it, and if he needs to, he will get a hold of the biologist we work with. But we do have leaves up here, and I believe there's some pictures of them as well on the website.
Yeah, I've seen those. I didn't know that we had any leaves up here. I just, I usually see the notification, we don't cut because of oak wilt, and you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. That's not gonna happen to me. But it has happened now. We do have a case of it. So just as much as we can educate people that it is,
Yes.
there is actually a reason that they say don't cut.
Yes.
I know there's a fund set up, is that right, within the city, or is that outside of city purview?
We have a cost-sharing program that we will contribute up to 50% of the cost for trenching only. And that is budgeted at a total of $10,000. And then we also are going to receive $3,000 from a grant with the Forest Service for the trenching. So we will be helping offset the citizens' cost for the trenching.
Okay.
Maybe we should have something in the grapevine as to what oak wilt looks like. And that if you suspect it, please call the Public Works Department.
We can do that as we get closer to the spring, because that's typically when people start noticing the leaves are looking a little odd. But we can do that.
All right. Anything else on oak wilt? Okay. B3, Wildlife Management Advisory Commission activities, projects, updates. I know that we've got I don't think there's been much as far as training sessions, grapevine articles. I don't think we need to do any of that unless y'all think otherwise. Or if there's anything on this 1, 2, or 3 and number 3, let's talk about it. Going once, going twice? Kat, you were gonna say something, sorry?
I know that last month, Commissioner Bippert had stated he wanted Ben Olson to do a chronic wasting disease educational class. That has been pushed back because Mr. Olson was not available today. But if we wanted to do that for the November meeting, it'd be great if we could have something for the grapevine.
Okay.
If someone was willing to take that project on.
When is it due?
For you guys, I could push it back to, let me get a calendar.
Yesterday.
Yesterday. I could definitely push it to Thursday or Friday of this week, if you guys committed to it, of course.
I can contact Mr. Olson to see if he'll do it, and then write the article if he will.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on B3? All right. B4, meetings, updates, and reports, specifically around the October City Council meeting, which I want to thank Ken Kniper for covering for me. I had a little hurricane emergency that I did not anticipate having and kind of lost track of going to that city council meeting. I had to run down to the coast, get some things prepared, but that's kind of what happened. I was going to plan on being there, and just that seemed like it was a problem, and then I kind of spaced on it. So thank you, Ken, for covering for me, and I'll let Ms. Swint or Ms. Kane update us on what occurred during that meeting.
I actually missed the last council meeting, but I do know that the deer management proposal was passed.
Okay.
And Nancy can give more details.
City Council, of course, approved the reappointments of commissioners to the commission. They also approved the purchase of the hog trap gates, cameras, batteries, and the Verizon plan to support that equipment, and approved the expenditure for the deer management program, up to 100 deer.
Okay. So I think every motion that we had this last meeting would have then been passed by city council. So good news on the hog gates. I think I don't know that I have not gotten any feedback within the community that was a negative thing. That was a very positive thing. Everybody I've talked to has been excited, not excited, but they're approving of that expenditure and making sure that we're mitigating the hogs moving forward or as best we can, right? And then, obviously, y'all signed some paperwork today on your reappointments, which is great. And then I think finally the deer, up to 100 deer is I think gives us some road ahead of us to figure out how we're going to do it. There's still the outstanding thing of location. So that's kind of maybe our next hurdle we have to jump over. So
I just had a comment about the deer, as I've been seeing more deer than I ever have, of herds of 8 and 12. I take a 2-mile walk every night and see at least 20 deer a night in big herds. It's sort of interesting.
So
I would echo that. I've got a large herd that's moved in across the street.
Is there any hope of finding anybody or with land or location that we can put a trap in? I know that's been, everybody that we've utilized before or has allowed us to put a trap on their property has backed out. Are there any suggestions or?
let's do this. Let's skip down to C2 and talk about that particular line item because that's under deer management, right? And we can talk about C1 and C2. I think everybody got the update on city council. Let's skip down to C1 and C2 so that we're talking about those two specific things. But to answer your question, I think the answer is no, we have not. If there's two paths here, right? There's the path of you find someone who's willing and able to let you onto their private property, privately owned property, to be able to trap. There's another path that uses city land, which is difficult because of accessing those. There's only so many pieces of property the city owns, and obviously Paul Davis Park being the biggest one is probably not on the docket of being approved ever for trapping of deer. So I think that one kind of is negated. I think if you look at the other pocket parks that we have, they're probably too small. And they're arguably in the middle of, it's a little odd to have a deer trap in the middle of a park, even if you could put it there, and then probably not the best. So there's some challenges that we have to be able to do this moving forward, right? Trapping deer. It's obviously approved, but I think those are the two paths we have. Unless you do it highly visibly, meaning, and that's arguably an issue for most people on not only city council, but probably a lot of people within the city who may not
Be
want to
amenable.
see that. Yeah, be amenable, that's the right word, to something like that. So
How do we usually contact people or get volunteers? Or
I think it's been traditionally, it's just been a certain set of landowners have agreed to doing that. They have since revoked that
Okay.
and no longer allow us to do that voluntarily.
I think at one of our previous meetings, we were gonna talk about lots that hadn't been built yet and attempting to try to figure out who might own those, or seeing if they would allow us to put a trap there where they'd be a little bit, like, they're not developed yet, so it's not as visible. I remember there was a trap on between our property and our neighbors when they were visible, and it trapped quite a few, and they made their noise and the bleeding and stuff. And so I think nobody wants that again. I know we don't have like a public information officer, but just from what I've seen on personally, like on Nextdoor and everything, the comments are, we're doing a great job. Nobody should volunteer their space to put traps. So that's just what I saw as the general consensus.
I'm not sure it's the consensus, but yes, I agree that there are comments out there that are in line with what you said.
I didn't see anybody who said, I'm going up to city council so I can volunteer my property.
Oh, no. I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying there's not that many places left, and probably the amount of folks that would have property that would not be visible, that would be a good fit, is probably very, very slim, in the less than two handfuls category. And the folks that I've talked to.
Anybody who's got property would be harassed if they allowed a trap to be put on their property.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
Ms. Kane.
I'm not disagreeing with you there at all. So, go ahead.
I believe Ms. Kane's had quite a bit of history dealing with this.
I would suggest, if y'all are aware of any property owners that may be willing to allow the location of a trap on their property, to contact me. We will go out and assess whether it might be a good location or not. There's another factor that we do need to take into account, and that is the accessibility of the trapper to the pins, so that he can easily access it and remove the deer and leave the property. So, accessibility is also going to be another factor in the equation. So if we are open to suggestions, ideas, we will contact the property owner. Property owner will have to sign a waiver granting us permission to allow the trapping to occur on their property.
And is there a minimum size that we need for that, or just large enough for the gate? Trap.
I don't know that there's going to be a minimum size.
Okay.
It's just how can they can erect they need to be able to erect the pin,
Right.
but maneuver a vehicle with a trailer
Okay.
up to the chute and remove them from there.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know if this is the right time to do it or if it's later in like the future items, but in the citizen comments last time, he was talking, the citizen who came, who's new to Garden Ridge, was talking about, where like, we need the permits for someone to come in, like if we can relocate them, like if we have property owners that say they want us to relocate deer. But he was just saying, if there are permitting processes and fees, we should get ahead of that for whenever the next time is that it would be available. Just because I know at a couple meetings we've said we were late, I think, or we hadn't done the permitting yet. No? Okay.
No, so trapping season is October 1st through
March 31st.
I think probably our main problem is being able to just trap the deer, right? Like, I'm not suggesting that being proactive isn't important. I'm saying that we have kind of a non-starter with not being able to even be able to find a location to trap. I think that's our biggest hurdle. If we found a place or someone let us or what have you, I think that process goes pretty quickly, right? The CWD testing arguably isn't as quick, but if we do trap deer, we can take those first 15 and CWD test them. So there is that possibility.
Just a heads up that I spoke with, as well as the biologist spoke with, that citizen. And again, as you said, the trapping season starts in October, so we're not behind. And they don't start accepting the CWD samples until September 30th, I think. Is that what he said?
Yeah, you don't want to.
Yeah.
The reason
They
do
don't
that-
start collecting them before
Right,
October.
Right,
and the
So, I
main-
mean, there's no, yeah.
right.
And the main reason is you don't want to really transport deer in the heat, right? Like October 1st can still be hot. So if you start trapping deer and trying to move them in 95-degree weather in a trailer where they has basically no windows, no air really, it's just too hot. So that's why they wait till later on, typically. It's just logical, meaning you don't get the CWD test until it gets cooled off. That's all.
And historically, we've always had an issue finding somebody to accept the deer, so.
Yeah, even if we do trap them, there is that other next step problem where you have who can take them and why. I know that the biologist was going to reach out to some biologists in West Texas to see if there was, they had some die-offs there in West Texas potentially in the winter, this past winter. So maybe when you reach out to him, you can find out if he has any traction on that answer from that other biologist. Okay. Yes, Kat?
The biologist actually already reached out, and he did find a landowner that would be willing to accept the deers if we wanted to do the TTT way.
Even better. Did he say a number?
No, it was not that detailed.
Perfect. Understood.
Okay.
At least we have a location, and if we are able to trap deer, I agree with everyone that TTT should be the first thing that we do.
We will have to do the TTP for the first 15.
That's correct. The first 15 will have to be TTP'd. And those samples taken out of their brain stem. So, yes, agreed. So, I I've reached out to some folks. I'll send a list over to you, Nancy.
Okay.
The only other option we have, and this is just an idea, take it or leave it, you can do with it what you want. Incentivizing landowners to do something, right? Instead of voluntarily saying, oh, I'd love to put my property up there and not have people reach out to me or come to my house or whatever, but it may be incentivize them in some way. I don't know what way that is. You make your own judgment call on what that would mean to you.
Well, if we put out there that they're being trapped and transported to West Texas, it may take the onus off the landowner.
I don't disagree with that statement. It may be a way for us to reach back out to those folks who have said and told us no previously, that, hey, we've got a different program, potentially, that we may be able to do something different. And it may feel different, it may sound different to them. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but, and they may have told us, like, kick rocks, never again. I don't know how that ended, but that may be a thing, but yeah, that's a good incentive.
Can just so for my own knowledge, there's the TTT, which is the trapper, right?
So both are trapping, right? So both trap an animal in a pen.
Okay,
One, you take the animal, you put it in a trailer. Both go into a trailer.
okay, no, I understand the process, but it's the acronyms that are, so
Mhm.
TTT is the
Transport.
person, okay.
Process.
TTP,
It's a
Process
process.
means-
and you're saying there's a certain number that you have to have done for the chronic waste. Okay,
Yep.
I was just
Yeah.
making sure that I had all my acronyms. Okay,
Yeah, before we could even do the TTT, we
Okay.
would have to accomplish the
you said a certain number?
15.
15.
You gotta take
Okay.
a sample size of 15 before you do anything.
Okay,
So the first 15 we would trap
yeah,
would be TTP,
okay.
tested, sent off. We wait for those results. I think we can transport during that results waiting period, I think.
I'm thinking you can't.
Okay. Is that a
There was a
requirement that
discrepancy
comes-
on that the last time.
That-
I don't
yeah.
disagree that it makes sense that you would wait.
Right, but we
But
could check that with Mr. Olson.
Yes, I think we can check on that.
Is that a requirement that does come from Texas Park and Wildlife, that you have to do the first
Yes.
15?
Yes.
Okay.
You can't
Yes.
transport the animals without that.
It does,
And that-
it doesn't
that-
have,
Okay.
it doesn't have to be, we can take samples from deer that are roadkill if they're within the time frame.
We can do that too.
Which would eliminate the need for the first 15 to go.
Ideally, what you would do is find a place to trap, get your 15 from the roadkill, and then TTT the rest, ideally.
Right.
Now, that sounds good in theory, but in practice, it may not work out perfectly just like that. So I think for argument's sake, I would say the first 15 would be TTP. Okay. Any other comments? Concerns about C1 and C2? Okay. C3, City of Gardner Edge Wildlife Management Plan, discuss updates, recommendations. Anybody got any adjustments they want to make to the wildlife plan? Other than adding some awesome gates to our feral hog management program. Could put those in there. All right. C4, I know that Ms. Drickta went there. I'll let her give the update. You said you went, so I'll let you give that update.
They let me go first with the items that I had. I wasn't able to stay because I had my kids who had to get back to a class. So it kind of jumps ahead to the number 5. Is that all right? Including 4 and 5 together?
That's totally fine.
Okay. So I went with them with the recommendation that we name the wildlife meadow after Commissioner Segovia, after her work in getting that put together. I think their concern was that there were many hands who went into creating the butterfly meadow and kind of getting that started. So in the discussion that we had, they're going to come up with a little bit more of a process to, like, for someone to submit someone for something like that. And so I think they're working on the criteria so that it can be a little bit more formalized, so that, you know, someone just doesn't come up with a name. So I think that's going to be an ongoing thing. The recommendation from the Wildlife Committee that I gave was we named it after Cindy Segovia. And so I'll continue to engage with them as far as if they're going to come up with something and you need more criteria, then we can continue going forward with that being our recommendation from our committee. So it seemed like a good idea. They wanted to, for other people who were involved with things going on at the park, they said they had started to come up with this process that people could go through, but this may be a good reason to keep it going. So that's what I had. And then we also talked about the oak wilt. And then he sent me the minutes that were taken to city council, but there wasn't anything else that I had from that.
When are they finalizing their process to be able to, no timeline?
They didn't give me a timeline, but I do know that they're reseeding the butterfly meadow. I'm gonna meet with Cindy tomorrow, just to kind of watch, just for my own curiosity's sake, on how that's being done. So I think that was their only concern, was they didn't want feelings to be hurt by naming it after one person. So
We could just make it really long and put everybody's name.
they talked
I'm just
about, I'm guessing it's probably coming to city council, and talked about like a plaque or some sort of monument that people could add names to, as far as like friends of the park or something like that. So, and then it also got to a discussion about like the lane of bricks that they have over at Danville, that you could purchase a brick, that they make a path that goes along with their wildlife trail, or whatever that's called, the trail. So I just think they're wanting to get people more involved with it. They just don't have a process for it. So.
Okay, thank you for that update. Any discussion, further discussion? All right, C6, ordinance 210, I assume we're all in violation. We need to be showing up to city council meetings. No, we're all good. Perfect. Oh, that's right, that's for this year, COVID. Okay. Oh, that's right. Last year, October. Last year.
Well, when
Y'all
we
did it recently.
Well, yeah,
Y'all did it for
Cindy,
Cindy
yes.
left.
Signed.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
But we do it every October because that's when commissioners are reappointed.
Okay.
I want to nominate Paul for this, from his chair, from his virtual chair. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna make you be the chairman virtually.
That's wise.
You know, I don't have a problem continuing my duties. I don't believe we have it's Ken's the vice chair right now, yeah. I don't have a problem keeping the chair. I did a terrible job this last city council meeting, but other than that, I've done an okay job. Unless y'all have any discussion or want to nominate somebody else, I'm okay with that too.
I would nominate you in perpetuity.
In perpetuity.
Do we need a motion for this? Is that a normal thing, or we just, yes, we do?
Yes,
We should
you need
do that.
a motion, and this is something that does not need to go to city council. This is just internal
Internal.
amongst your
Okay.
commission.
The motion can be the chair and the vice chair together as
Yeah.
one motion.
All right, I make a motion that we continue to have David Krasinski as the chair and Ken Kniper as the co-chair.
Okay, I've got a motion,
Second.
I've got a second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 That motion passes unanimously. We will continue on here. All right. I think that's it. We'll go to D1, input on the future agenda items. Anything you want to add to the agenda for next month?
I saw a potential education topic.
Okay.
And that being, I just saw a thing on, from dark skies and how it affects the bird migration, that we could get that presentation together.
I would love to see that. We can add that to the future agenda items. We can add it under the training section. It's a great idea. I love the dark sky idea. I would love for people to turn off their
Yes.
gigantic security lights at some point during their life.
So if Ben Olson cannot do the CWD next month, perhaps we could do that in its stead.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Sounds great. And would you be presenting that, or would you looking for somebody to do that?
I think I could present it. I have a slide set for it.
Perfect. Okay. Anything else anybody wants to add to the future agenda items? Going once, going twice. Okay. Looks like we need to reschedule Monday, December 21st, 2020, and Monday, January 18th, 2021, regular meetings.
January 18th is Martin Luther King Day.
That's probably,
Oh, but it says reschedule Monday, December 21st. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said to January 18th.
y'all sure you don't want to come in on Christmas week? I don't
Yep.
know why we're rescheduling. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have a preference necessarily. We can, hopefully the November meeting gets us some traction on what we can do potentially. I don't know if we want to cancel the December meeting, or is that not something we want to do? Do you just want to reschedule totally?
I say we
It's
cancel
up
I
it.
make a
It's up to
motion we
y'all.
cancel the December meeting.
Second.
Okay. Very quick there. We got a motion and a second. I don't even think I need that. Do I? No. It's kind of my decision. I don't know why I'm trying to take it out of my hands.
I make a
know where y'all
motion that you
stand.
agree
Thank
with
you.
us that we cancel it.
No, yeah, we can go ahead and cancel that one. We just need to, I would just say that if anybody has anything they can bring to that November meeting around a solution for trapping, that would be the meeting. Okay. I've said it. It's out there. Okay. And then the January 18th, is that what it was? I don't know. So January 20th, that's 18th. Do you want to is it acceptable to push it back a week?
Yes, so the two dates that would be best are either January 19th or January 25th.
Okay. Does anybody have a problem doing it the 25th? I know it's a long way out. I'm sure your calendars are not up to that date yet. But does the 25th in principle sound good?
I would prefer to keep it on a Monday.
Well, the 25th is Monday. Oh, okay, sorry. Yes, 25th, perfect. All right, we'll go with 25th.
Do you need a motion?
No, I just made the decision. I've got to have some power in here. All right. So next meeting, location is City Hall, November 16th at 6 p.m. I don't believe we have any citizen comments period unless Ms. Swint wants to say anything. Nope. So we can adjourn. It is 6:40. Thank you very much. 7 o'clock, we should have to.